Welcome back to my round 6 recap from Kragerø Chess. Before I forget, we do have a merch promotion going. Maybe the title of this video will incentivize some people to get Oh No My Queen merch. So anyway, let's get to recap. In this game, I played Christian Moen, Ole Christian Moen, older player from Norway. I think he might actually be one of the oldest players in the section. I looked at his FIDE profile. He was born in 1951. And the majority of my opponents this tournament have been much younger than me. I think I've only played 2 older players thus far out of 6 rounds. So I decided before the game, pairings went up right after my previous round 5, because it was such a marathon game. So pairings went up maybe like 45 minutes before, and I didn't really have much time to prepare. But beforehand, I decided that if I had the chance, I would go into a Stafford Gambit. And I was ready. If he took the pawn, I was going to play knight c6. But he didn't take the pawn. He played knight to c3. It's been on my bucket list for a while to play Stafford Gambit in an over-the-board FIDE classical tournament, but it'll have to wait. I was excited too. I was kind of jittery before the game. But he played knight c3, and I was actually debating whether to play bishop c5 here and still try and transpose into his Stafford. But the drawback of bishop c5 takes knight c6 is white just has more options. Knight f3 is a very good line. Knight d3 also gives white some edge. Of course, this is also like +2 according to the engine. So even going into Stafford Gambit would have been a bit risky. But I wanted to make the gamble that he's not the type of person who binges my Stafford content on YouTube. So anyway, no Stafford this game. Instead, we had a 4 knights after bishop b5, bishop b4. This is a copycat variation. Not sure if it's officially the copycat variation. Maybe it's just symmetrical variation, but I'm copying him so far. And the main move I'm prepared for normally is d3, after which I would play d6. And if white develops, I was planning to play knight e7 and go into this line. It's a variation I've studied in the past. But instead of playing pawn d3 here, he went for a more direct move, knight to d5. And this is a move that I actually looked at before the game because I saw that he played a game maybe about 15 years ago that featured knight d5 in this position. So before the game, I briefly prepared what happens if knight d5 here. Now, with castling included, it's a little bit different, but I was still able to use the same idea in my pregame preparation. I went ahead and took the knight. After takes, I don't move the knight on c6, but I play the move pawn e4. Nice counterattack. And after he takes on c6, I don't take the knight, but I take on c6, hitting the bishop. And it's a cool idea, kind of a fancy way of trading a lot of things, but black is guaranteed to win back the minor piece. And I thought that at the very least, it's equal. Maybe there's a small edge for black, as we'll see. So he plays bishop e2, I take the knight, he takes, and then I play bishop to c5. A bishop really no longer serving a purpose on b4. And I played bishop c5 maybe for a couple of reasons. First of all, of course, I want to align with the king, but I'm also preventing pawn to d4. And then an interesting sequence of moves happens because he plays c3, preparing d4, and I prevent it with queen to d3. And at this point, I was remembering some famous Morphy game. It's like one of the most famous Morphy games where he plays queen d3, also from a 4 knights opening. And then later in the game, I think he sacks a queen somehow. So I was feeling really inspired, especially wearing my Oh No My Queen merch, link below. But unfortunately, white is able to chase away the queen very quickly with bishop to e2, which I anticipated. I played queen g6, and white gets in d4. And here my bishop's attacked, but it's a common theme in this game. When my pieces are attacked, I don't always move them right away. Here I go for a counterattack, bishop h3, threatening mate, and he defends bishop f3, And now I move back to d6. And I was feeling good here, even though it's pretty close to equal. White has a little bit of development to do. This bishop doesn't have a great square because I'm covering f4 and g5, and I have some nice kingside pressure as well. So he plays rook e1, I challenge the rook, and then he plays rook to e3. Interesting move, maybe trying to get my bishop to move away, and I do just that, bishop e6. Then he plays bishop d2. Yeah, I was trying to just make sense of like the plan in this position. It's really close to symmetrical. White does control a little bit more space, but I have more harmonious development with the bishops. And I opted for a natural looking plan to try and double up rooks on the e-file. And this is a very important thing to understand in the middle game. In this case, there is one fully open file. So it's my plan to just double up rooks and try and fight for that file. He responds with bishop h5, which surprised me a little bit because I wasn't quite sure what the bishop is doing on h5 after I play queen f5. But then he plays h3, and now it's clear he wants to just harass my queen and maybe try and induce some trades. I went ahead and played rook a e8. He plays bishop to g4. And here I took a bit of a think because there are some options where to move the queen. And this is a bit of an embarrassing moment for me because I made a very bad mistake on the next move. And I took so long just making sure, or supposedly like thinking that the tactics are okay for me, but just completely overlooking White's response. The move I played was queen f4. And I thought this was okay because I have all this pressure on the king side, threatening queen h2. I was mainly calculating pawn g3 and what happens after bishop takes g4 in these lines. Before we get to why queen f4 is a bad move, what I should have done, and like I was very close to doing, is playing queen b5, just kind of keeping pressure. I didn't go for this line because I wasn't sure if I had much of an edge after takes queen c2, and maybe it's just close to equal. Only so much I can do here as black. But queen f4 was just a horrendous move, and he played his next move really quickly, rook to e5, and then I realized, oh no, my queen. It's attacked by the bishop. He cut off the battery, so I no longer have queen h2. The only safe square to move the queen is f6. Actually, there's a couple options here that we'll get to. But queen f6 runs into bishop g5, queen g6, bishop h5. And the queen is trapped here. All the squares are covered. White's bishops are actually very dominant here. So I realized after rook e5, I'm in trouble. What I had overlooked when I played queen f4, I thought I could just take on g4. And I was calculating queen takes g4, and like we would trade. Actually, queen takes g4, there's just queen takes d2. I don't know what I was thinking. Essentially, what I missed was h takes g4, and my queen is still stuck. Like if I move back to f6 here, bishop g5, and there's a really unfortunate line because it looks like black might be holding on with queen g6, but then after takes, if I take the rook, white takes back and opens the d-file, and I can't take the bishop because I get mated. And once I saw this, I was really sad. And I came to the conclusion that in this position, I have to give away my queen. And the only way to fight is, okay, first to take on g4, after h takes g4, to take the rook. And fortunately, even though I blundered, it's not completely losing yet, because after takes, I am down a queen. I missed her a lot, especially a few moves ago. I thought I was playing for some advantage, but I have rook and bishop for queen, so white's only up a little bit of material. If we do like the point value, it's 8 points versus 9 points. But I thought this position, it's going to be not easy to defend because white can kind of grind down for a while. He starts with pawn g3, hitting the bishop. I move back. And then here, I was really scared of this move, queen to b3. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do after this move. He didn't end up playing it. He played king to f1. But after queen b3, my pawns attacked. And if I move it, then there's queen a4 attacking two undefended pawns. If I play pawn b5, he would have a4, and like things are opening up. And generally, in a position like this, I just want to try and be solid and not induce even more weaknesses in my position. So I think queen b3 was a better option. But after king to b1, or king to f1, then I had time to just try and consolidate. I played pawn c5, just attempting to trade off the pawns. I actually set up a small trap here too that he didn't go into. He played d5, but the trap is if he takes and then plays queen d5, it looks like white's winning a pawn, but I was going to play bishop b6, and if white takes a pawn, I have rook to e2, and then it's actually a really nice counterplay for black in this position. But after pawn d5, things close down a little bit. I play rook e4, he plays b3, maybe preparing c4. I play b6, queen f3, and g6. At this point, I realized I just want to be super solid and basically make a fortress. Like everything in my position is defended, I guess with exception of the a pawn. I can always play a5 if necessary. And we played a few more moves, rook d1, king g7, g5. Looks a little bit scary because my dark squares seem vulnerable, but I do have the dark square bishops, so there's really no concern. I played rook e5 here, hitting the pawn, and then he plays queen to g4. If he plays queen f6, I just move back, and then actually I'm threatening rook f5, so it would be funny if white also gets the queen trapped. In this case, black would be winning, but he plays queen g4. I play rook e4. He plays back to f3, and then he makes eye contact. But he didn't say anything. He just looked at me. And I moved back, and he moved back, and he looked at me again. I wasn't sure if he's like repeating, trying to fake me out. And then after rook e4, I thought maybe he's going to go for queen h3, but then he moved back. Or no, wait. No, there was a DGT error in the broadcast. Some people in the Chess chat were confused. He did not play king g1. I believe we just agreed to a draw here. Like I played rook e4, and then I think he offered me a draw on his turn. My mind is kind of hazy right now, but we did agree to a draw. And yeah, I don't know why the broadcast said white played king g1. That definitely did not happen. Anyway, yeah, that was my round 6 game. I'm fortunate to come out alive and draw this. I've had 2 games today in which I was much worse. In the previous game, I was like dead losing in multiple moments. This game, I made a terrible tactical blunder. Very fortunate to survive. I think the big issue in this game was I was just mentally fatigued. I don't like to make excuses, but when I look at the board, my mind was not churning the gears the way it's supposed to be. But it's still nice to not lose. And yeah, what more to say? I would have liked to play a Stafford, but it will have to wait, at least when it comes to classical over the board chess. So that does it for this recap. I hope you enjoyed. If you have questions, leave them below. I do appreciate all the really nice feedback and comments from people. Hope you guys are enjoying the recaps. Stay tuned for more. There are 3 more rounds. I'm 3.5 out of 6, so still on a plus score. No chances for a GM norm, I don't think, but definitely chances to play more interesting, hopefully entertaining chess. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys soon.